the beginning of 2024, Cricut released the Create sticker feature. It is dubbed as an easy way to create kiss cuts and die cuts in the same project. This is a very desirable feature to people who want to make sticker sheets or easy peel stickers. Unfortunately, after Cricut botched their attempt to force everyone to pay for Cricut access, they resorted instead to releasing all new features behind the paywall. Not only is this feature paywalled, it is only optimized to work with Cricut's proprietary sticker papers, like this one, where the stickers on the package were cut with a machine that clearly wasn't even calibrated properly. Other manufacturers, like Silhouette, do not make it so difficult to assign multiple pressure settings to the same job. But if that knowledge has come too late for you, and you already own a Cricut, know that you do not need to pay for Cricut access to achieve this. In my last video at the end, I spoke about how I tested out the Create sticker feature, and I can absolutely say it is not worth the price. In this video, I will teach you my method for making sticker sheets or easy peel stickers without a subscription. The process is fairly simple, but finding the proper settings can be a bit tedious. It feels wasteful doing these test cuts, but I promise in the long run it will actually prevent you from wasting more material. The method is broken down into two parts. The first part is finding the optimal kiss cut settings, and this part of the method doesn't just apply to stickers. If you're having difficulty cutting vinyl, cardstock, or literally any material, you can use this method. Remember that the presets don't always work because they are optimized to be used with Cricut branded materials, and every machine is different. I have 4 machines, and all of them use slightly different pressure settings to achieve the same results. The second part is finding out how many additional passes the machine needs to make to cut all the way through the material for the die cut. To do your test, you will need a sacrificial piece of material, laminate if you use it, a machine mat, a Cricut, and a test cut file. I've done the most mundane part of this task for you and created the test cut file, which I have linked in the description. I must also point out that you will need to use a computer or use an iOS device to do this. At the time of this video, it is not possible to create custom settings from an Android device. Alright guys, let's go hate Design Space together. When you click the link in the description, it will open this template I created in Design Space. From there, you just have to click Customize. This is where I would recommend saving it to your files so that you have easy access to it in the future. The file is set up with 2 page-sized templates, A4 and letter, as well as this matte template, which will make more sense when we go to cut. These operations are set to draw, but we will not need to draw anything, so make sure that there's no tool in the accessory clamp. For reference, I will leave the A4 template visible for now, but it will be easier to hide both of these templates for your actual tests. The outer square, however, must remain on or it will mess up the alignment. Before we go any further, we need to create our test cut settings. There are 2 ways to do this from a desktop computer. The easiest way is to go into the Settings menu. You'll click your name up at the top, click Settings, and then the Machines tab. Second from the bottom is Custom Material Settings, and click Start. If you have more than one machine, this is where you would select the machine in the dropdown. Otherwise, it will automatically open up the settings like this. You're going to need a baseline cut pressure. So if you're doing this because you tested a setting that didn't work for you, I would use that setting as your baseline and either increase it or decrease it depending on what didn't work for you. My sticker setting is usually 125 with 2 passes, so that will be my baseline for this new material I'm trying. Once you've determined your baseline, you'll scroll all the way down to the bottom and click Add New Material. Here's where you give your material a name. For my test cuts, I usually use a number for the name. That way it's easier to find and edit when I go back to change them later. Here, you set your pressure and number of passes. Now, common sense would say we can continue here and just add the next one, but for some reason that doesn't work. It must be one of the many glitches Cricut doesn't care to fix. You have to go out and come back in to set the next one. I'm going to add 5 different settings so that it reduces the amount of time I have to spend editing the settings between cuts. I suggest increasing each cut in increments of 10 to 25. I also personally prefer to keep my pressure low and add more passes to get the proper cut, because I find with higher pressures, you will be prone to getting ripples around the edges, which don't look great. So from here, we are going to start with our kiss cuts. So we'll just turn this die cut layer off for now. And we will turn off these additional rows because we will just start with the first row. And all we want is the very first star. So from here, we're just going to hit make it. So I left the page template visible so you can see how it's set up on the mat. I have it so that the paper types line up at the 1-inch mark. So you can always line your sheet of test paper up so the top corner is at the 1-inch intersection. The outer square, like I said, is the usable template of the mat. If you keep this page template visible and you're using in Maker 3, Explorer 3, Joy Extra, Venture, something that has a material measurement sensor, you're going to have to use a longer mat. If you're using Explorer Air 2 or an original Maker, it doesn't matter because it's not going to sense it. You can just do this on a 12 by 12 mat, which I'm going to do today. Here's where I'll show you the second method for adding your custom materials. You're going to click Browse All Materials here at the top. And at the bottom here, you'll see where it says Material Settings. From here, the process is the same as it is in the Settings menu. Now, to access the setting you made, you click Browse All Materials, and in the search bar, type in the name you used for your test cut setting. Select the one you want, and then proceed with the cut. But first we need to prepare our material. Okay, so I bought this sticker paper that I haven't tried before, and it's glow in the dark, which I'm very excited about. But it is a lot thicker than the paper that I normally use. So this is, I feel, the perfect opportunity to test this out in a video for you guys. So if you've watched the last video I did, I talked about how when I cut down my laminate, I have all of these extra little strips. And so we're going to use these today as the laminate for the sticker paper in these tests. So I am just going to quickly here cut this down and start laminating. So now that it's laminated, the strips, I'm going to go ahead and put it on the mat. And the way I have it set up is so that you can just line it up at the 1-inch mark. Okay, so that didn't even come close to cutting through. So I think I'm going to up my pressure significantly. So we just go back to the canvas and we turn on the next one. Definitely turn on the next one first before you turn off the one you just cut. I can also turn off this page template because you see now everything's set up to stay in the correct orientation. Okay, so I have found the kiss cut setting that works best. So now we can go back and do the die cut test. It took 13 different pressure settings to find the proper one. Now we can move on to the die cuts. This is the easier part, and since I went through all the trouble of making the test cut file for you, it will be a breeze. I'm going to move down to the next 2 rows of kiss cuts and turn them on. So now when I do my die cut tests, I will have 10 additional passes of kiss cuts to make sure that the settings are truly correct. If you don't want to do this, you can just do your die cut tests around the kiss cuts you've already tested. We're going to turn the die cut layers back on. You'll see here in the drop down that there are two subgroups, 2 to 6 passes and 7 to 11 passes. That will be the number of additional passes the machine will attempt to cut through the material. If your machine is set to do multi-cuts like I do, that will also factor into the die cuts. So if the setting is set to 2 passes and the die cut is with 2 layers, it will actually become 4 passes. So goodness gracious, this paper is very thick. It looks like the best one is the 11 passes. Cut all the way through on both kiss cut and die cut. So now that I have my perfect kiss cut and die cut settings, I'm going to go in and create some sticker sheets. So we can say goodbye to our test cut template. All right, so I know this doesn't look like very much right now, but if you watched my last video about the overlay method and how I set up my stickers, sometimes instead of uploading them as PNGs, I will just upload the SVG version. So here I have the cuts and then the backing. And that's sometimes easier for me since I'm going to print from a different program anyway. So we're just going to turn this into a print and cut. And now for adding the additional layers. So I determined that 11 passes is what's best for me. And on desktop, the easiest way to do this is highlight your backing layer that you're going to do the die cut with. And then you hit the Alt key on your keyboard and just click your duplicate layers until you get the number you want. Okay, and now I'm just going to go back to my originals and bring them to the front. Select everything and hit attach. And you're ready to make your sticker sheets. A clean die cut. And let's test out the kiss cut. Now the real test. Well, I hope this demystified custom pressure settings with your Cricut and gave you the tools you need to save the $100 you would have spent on an Access subscription for something better. If it did, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to my channel. If you need more help or clarification, drop a comment or come say hi to me on the Cricut subreddit. If you're new here, I'm Shelana, also known as Trillianinspace. Until the next time we can hate design space together, thanks for watching and bye!